You know what? I think this settles it. I'm adding that I enjoy looking like a glazed donut on my CV. Hello, welcome to my video. If you're from my Instagram, I love you. If you're not from my Instagram, love you all the same. So today, I'm going to be doing a warm, bronzy, summertime type of look. Now the eye look is gonna be giving off Siren Eyes vibes. Not exactly that, because I'm gonna be skipping the eyeliner, but really the main point of today's look is to just look warm, bronzy overall. Basically, I'm seeing everybody's pictures from the beach and I'm jealous that I'm not there yet. So I'm gonna fake it till I make it. But yeah, without further ado, if you wanna know how to achieve a warm, bronzy summer glow, then please keep on watching. So as usual, eyeshadow base is the first step. Now, I don't know if you can tell on camera though, but today, the first step I actually did was I applied some tape to the corners of my eyes. Now, obviously this doesn't have to be tape. It can also be a shadow shield or whatever you have handy. There are 1,000 different types of cosmetic tape out there. I used Scotch because, well. Okay, so at this point, you're gonna wanna get a flat brush and you're gonna dip that brush into a warm brown shade just like mine, and you're gonna apply it at the very outer corners of the eye look. I would say stick to the outer third of the eye. So sort of like this. Don't worry about blending this right now. We're gonna do that later. Now do the same thing to the other eye. Now that I've done that, I'm just taking a clean, fluffy blending brush and I'm just sort of buffing out the edges lightly. Again, doing this on both eyes. Now I'm taking a smaller flat brush and I'm applying a darker chocolatey brown to the very inner part of that look. So I'm sticking sort of right to the very outer corner area, which is right here. And I'm once again repeating the same thing on this side. Then I'm taking the same fluffy brush as before and blending that into the warmer brown. Don't worry if you overblend though, you can just keep adding a little bit more color until you're satisfied with the pigmentation. So for example, I'm just adding a tiny bit more color right here. So now I'm looking down in a mirror and I'm noticing that my lid did crease a little bit. And I'm just going over those creases with the same brush that I applied my eyeshadow base with, but I didn't add any new base to the brush. I'm just using whatever's left on the brush. As you can see, this is the before, this is the after. It gets rid of creases really nicely. Now at this point, I'm getting another flat brush and I'm dipping that in to a bronzy gold type of shade. And I'm applying that to the inner half of the eye. Just like this. So again, I'm not worrying about the blend here. I'm gonna fix that later. So now that that's done, I'm going over the edges with a fluffy detailed blending brush. Now I just flipped over to the other side of that same brush. And at this point, I'm using a slightly darker bronzy color. And as you can see, I'm applying it right in the gap, right next to that lighter shade that I just applied. Now, I'm not bringing it all the way over to the matte brown shade because I'm just gonna want a seamless blend. So I'm gonna start blending from here. You're gonna see later what I mean. But this is roughly what I want it to look like. So again, same detailed fluffy blending brush as before. And I'm just gonna blend that into the lighter shade first of all and just go around the edges a little bit, and then I'm slowly moving into the gap that we left there on purpose, just like this. So as you can see, that gave me this really pretty seamless blend with no harsh lines. So now that that's done, I'm just taking a smaller fluffy blending brush and using the first matte brown shade that we used and running it just over the edges of that shimmery shade to sort of marry everything together. So I'm almost finished with the eyes. Now I'm just grabbing a chocolate brown liner, and I'm not gonna draw a wing or anything because I feel like the eyeshadow is already winged enough. I'm just gonna extend the inner corners of my eyes a little bit, and that's what's really gonna play up that Siren Eyes effect. Now at this point, I'm gonna take off the tape. See how sharp that is? That's perfect. So I'm gonna return to the eyes later, but right now I'm gonna move on to the face. Now for the base, I'm going to be using two different primers, the Benefit Professional around my nose and T-zone, and the NYX Electrolyte Primer everywhere else. Now I know that some people love BB and CC creams for the summer, but I gotta tell you, if I'm putting on makeup at all, it's gonna be a medium to full coverage foundation. I really can get into any of the creams. I really don't know why. I think number one, I never found an appropriate shade for myself. They're either way too light or way too dark. I can't seem to get that right in a BB or CC cream. And then number two, I just feel like if I'm putting on makeup, I'm gonna put on makeup. And if I don't feel like putting on any makeup, then I'm literally just gonna put on sunscreen and walk out of the house barefaced, you know? Now that I've primed, I'm gonna use a liquid highlighter underneath my foundation. Now, I've talked about this trick in many other videos. I love doing this, especially if you wanna look like you have that glow from within. And I'm not only applying it to the high points of my cheeks, but also my chin, my nose, and a little bit on my forehead as well. Isn't it ironic how I'm covering my sweaty face? Like, I'm literally covering it just so I can make it look sweaty and glistening with highlighter again later. Isn't that funny? Now when I do it this way, I usually apply 2, maybe even 3 layers of liquid highlighter. This right here is 1 layer. Now I'm gonna wait for this to dry for about a minute or 2, and then I'm gonna apply the second layer. And if you're thinking to yourself, wow, she's being really generous with the highlighter, I am, but you gotta understand, most of this is gonna get covered with foundation anyway, so at the end, it's really gonna look super muted and cute. And if I'm applying 3 layers, well, that's just because I love highlighter, so that's just me. Okay, layer number 2. So while I'm waiting for that second layer to dry, I'm just gonna apply eyelash primer. So now I'm applying foundation. This is the Maybelline Fit Me, and I'm applying it to all the areas where I didn't highlight first. So kind of like that. Then I'm spraying my beauty blender with a vitamin C setting spray. Now, spraying it with a vitamin C hydrating setting spray is really gonna make my skin look even more glowy and hydrated, and that's what I'm looking for here. And so when you've pretty much blended out all the non-highlighted areas, you just want to go over the areas with highlighter very lightly with whatever's left over on the beauty blender. Now, if you're really into details, if you're a detail freak like me, you could also clean up around the edges of the eye look with some foundation on a flat brush. But you really don't have to do this. This is totally optional because the edges are already very sharp and flawless. So same thing on the other side. As you can see, I'm really avoiding the highlighted areas until I've basically blended in everything else. And that's when I'm just slightly passing over them because we really don't want to hide all of the highlighting that we just did. Naturally, I have to clean up around the edges of this eye as well so that it looks even on both sides. So all that's left is the forehead, and I'm just cleaning up around the brows first, then applying foundation with my finger just like this. And then I'm taking my beauty blender and blending both of those things together. So now it's time for concealer, and I'm just applying it under my eyes at first, and then everywhere else, including blemishes and spots. And then I'm blending it out in the reverse order. I'm letting it set a little bit, almost get tacky under my eyes while I blend out the rest of the face. Not me forgetting to bring everything down to my neck. Girl, what is this? Amateur hour? So now I'm blending it under the eyes. And I prefer doing this with my finger because it melts the product really nicely, honestly. Now at this point, while the concealer is still tacky, I'm just gonna go back to the eyes and I'm just gonna bring everything down to the lower lash line. So starting out with that darkest matte brown and an angled brush, I'm just placing that right underneath. And then sort of overlapping, I'm applying that medium matte brown, sort of half underneath, half over that darkest brown. And now I'm just taking a small blending brush and smoking that out. Great, so now that that's done, go back underneath your eyes and just with your finger blend out any creasing if it happened to you. Naturally, I have about 10,000 creases, so I have to do this. And then I'm setting the under eyes with a brightening banana powder. However, I'm not letting that bake. I'm knocking that off immediately. Now at this point, I'm looking a tiny bit more dry than I would like to, so I'm just gonna refresh my face with some setting spray. That's much better. Now I'm just gonna apply mascara and then we're pretty much done with the eyes. Okay, so we're at the home stretch here, people. Now I'm just applying a warm bronzy shade to all of the areas that would normally get tan if I were tan. And if I did tan, however, I am pale and pasty, so I'm just gonna pretend I'm also bringing that up somewhat into my hairline and my temples as well. And I'm just gonna go over this with my beauty blender and whatever's left on it so that I don't look too crazy. Now, obviously the goal here isn't to contour, I just wanna look warm and bronzy. So immediately you can see the difference. Now I can never skip the chin, so. Now I normally never do this for real, but I'm gonna bronze up the nose a little bit too. So it looks a little crazy, but when you blend it in, it looks completely fine. Can't skip the sides of the nose either. Then also I'm gonna use the same setting powder as before and just go down the sides of the nose and the bridge as well, but I'm using a smaller brush for that. Now I'm gonna let this sit in for a hot minute while I blend out my blush. And of course it's gonna be a liquid blush as well, and I'm just applying it with my fingers and then I'm tapping it in with a fluffy brush. So normally I'd apply more blush, but today I really want the warm tones of that bronzer to come through, so this is enough for me. Now I'm just knocking off that fake contour. Now regarding highlighter, you might just want to leave it like this and that's cool because it looks very pretty, but naturally I'm gonna add more. And naturally it has to be the Diamond Bomb by Fenty because this adds such a pretty sparkle. Not too much now. I mean, I normally get carried away, but I'm trying not to today. I'm also gonna add a little bit of the Gerard Cosmetics highlighter on my brow bone. I always say a little bit, but it's never just a little bit, is it? And also some in my very inner tear duct. So I'm just gonna set the face one last time. And now all that's left is the lips. Now what you could do is add a bronzy gloss and call this a day, but since I want to do a summer look, I'm gonna do an orange red shade. To me, that really screams summer. So first I'm lining my lips with a red lip liner, and I'm also gonna fill them in slightly. Now I'm gonna use this beautiful orange red lipstick by MAC and fill them in. Right, so naturally I'm gonna add more gloss on top of this. This is Watermelon Sugar by NYX. Alright, and there you go. That pretty much concludes today's look. This to me screams summer. Orange lip, bronzy brown eyeshadow, love it. Now in the comments below, please let me know how much makeup do you actually wear in the summertime and what your go-to summertime look is. But other than that, thank you so much for watching, and if you liked this video, please consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!